Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the May edition of Rainbow Inspirations. It's an opportunity to spotlight people who inspire us in our community, people 50 plus who are in the LGBTQ community. And May is Older Americans Month. Did you know that, Ron?
No, I did not know that. That's really neat.
It is really neat. And Ron is a human that celebrates health and life and aging all together. We were just talking a little bit about his fitness routine and the importance of that to him to maintain his good health. So, yeah, just off the top, Ron, here we are. I'm so glad that you're joining us today. I have known Ron for 5 or 6 years at least through his work with AARP and other community organizations. What does, being that it's Older Americans Month, what does aging well mean to you? I'm throwing you a pop question that we did not anticipate, but I'm kind of curious about your response to that.
No, I'm glad you asked that. Aging well to me means trying to stay as healthy as possible so that you can maintain the lifestyle that you want.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I ignored my health and concentrated on my career and looking after my mother the last 10 years of her life. And then it dawned on me one day that there might not be anyone to look after me when I get older. So I decided that I needed to pay more attention to staying as active as possible so that I can maintain that activity and continue and not need or not have to worry as much about the care aspect of growing older. Uh,
Yeah.
and I try to surround myself with people who are like that, and attend the Y, and that's a good place to do that because I will tell you. Right before this started, we were talking about doing spin classes. I've got this lady in my spin class that I just love to death. Her name's Linda, and uh, and she is 71 or 72 years old, and she comes to spin classes, and she just blows me away. I mean, she can stay on that bike for 2 hours and do 40 miles on the bike. She's just amazing.
And spin is no joke. I mean, that's really good for all parts, all systems, all parts of your body. That is so inspiring. And you were mentioning that you really entered the fitness realm after 50. So you said it was a little bit later in your life you were inspired to really focus on your health.
Yeah, and it's interesting you should say that because AARP helped me with that
Huh.
too. Giving a shout out to them, I was very eager to join AARP. So when Barry turned 50 and AARP allowed me to join as his partner, I joined. And it's interesting because after his heart attack, I really started paying attention to the articles that they ran on health and fitness and how important it is to maintain your own health as you age because there's so many little things that you want to do. And as we get older, our bodies start showing the wear of the time we've spent here on this earth. And we want to make sure that we're maintaining our bone density and our muscle mass because we lose that naturally. So we want to put as much into that as we can so that we can continue an active lifestyle as long as we can.
Wow,
And they
that's
were
really cool.
great articles.
That's really cool that AARP inspired you. I know it inspires me, as do the people who are 50 plus, like you were saying, the 72-year-old. And you've been one of those people for me, Ron. Ever since we met, you have been, in addition to your busy professional life, you have been so engaged as a volunteer in our community. So I was really excited to have the opportunity to talk to you today. So let's dive in. And, I heard you mention Barry. So let's tell the viewers who Barry is and how you met Barry and a little story about you two.
Okay, well, Barry is the light of my life. He is my husband,
Oh,
and we met 32 years ago
wow.
this year. Um, Actually, 33 years ago this year, we met. We didn't start living together until 32. But anyway, we were it's a cute story. We had both been to the only gay bar in Hickory, North Carolina that night, but didn't run into each other at the bar. And afterwards, we went to Kroger's, a 24-hour grocery store, and we were both there looking for uh, headed home, looking for a snack. and we met in the dairy section. We were looking for onion dip, and we started talking, and then the rest is history. Um, we started dating and discovered that we have a lot in common. Both of us are from families that had six children in them. He was from a small town in Tennessee, and I was from Hickory, North Carolina. And we just found that we had a lot in common. And
Oh,
he's been a great source of support for me over the years. He never flinched at anything that I've asked him to do. When it came to the point that my mother needed uh, to no longer live alone, she actually chose me and Barry, telling me that we had the strongest relationship among all of her children, and that she thought she would be comfortable living with us. And Barry jumped right in. He became a favorite of my mother's, and they spent wonderful time together. Because I was working and he was a real estate agent at the time, he had more free time and would take her to her doctor's appointments, take her shopping, take her to church if she wanted to go to church. He has just definitely been a big support for me over the years. He really has.
wow. You can just feel the vibe of your love for Barry, extending from you. And I hadn't heard that story. That's really quite a simple twist of fate that you were at the same gay bar but didn't meet there, but met at looking for onion dip. That's so
Yeah.
funny. Did you guys go somewhere after you met at at Kroger's? I mean, did you end up like going to talk or get to know each other better, or did you just get his number?
No, we went to his place and talked.
Ha! So that was 32 years ago, and how old are you now, Ron?
I am going to turn 62 this year.
Okay, cool. Yeah, when Ron told me he was in his 60s, I was shocked because I wasn't sure if he was in his 50s yet. Just knowing his energy and vitality, you're just ageless to me, Ron. So if that was 32 years ago, you were 30 when you met
Yeah,
Barry.
yeah.
And you mentioned your mom that you had become a caregiver near after that. So let's talk a little bit about your family, your parents, and where you grew up. Tell me about your origins.
Well, I was born and raised in Hickory, North Carolina, one of six children.
Okay.
My mom and
Wow.
dad uh, were both from the area. They were actually from further up the mountain, the Marion Morganton area. And it's funny because my aunt and her husband, who was my uncle, and I mean, my aunt and uncle were my mom and dad's brother and sister.
Mm-hmm.
My aunt married my uncle, who was my dad's brother,
Huh.
and my dad met my mom through that. So they were the only two brothers and sisters that moved down here to Hickory to begin with, and then we had another uncle come down later. But uh, we
That's
weren't. I
crazy.
wasn't real close to my cousins and everything because my mom was the youngest in the family, and my dad was close to the youngest. And all of their brothers and sisters had already had their children and everything. But growing up with six brothers and sisters, I had plenty of siblings and plenty of time to do stuff with them. I'm still exceptionally close to my younger brother. I have one younger brother, and Eric is probably the favorite of all my brothers and sisters. If they watch this, then they'll know that then, but they pretty much know that now.
You love them all, but you and Eric have a special bond, huh?
Eric and I have a special bond, and that's because my mom tried to stop having children after my older brother David, and then she slipped up and had me. And David was 3 years older than me, or is 3 years older than me. And my mom said she was afraid that I would grow up without anybody to play with because I was so much younger than David, and she had Eric then,
Wow.
so that I would have a sibling close in age to me.
So how old was your mom when she had you and Eric?
Oh my gosh, my mom was 30 when she had me.
Mhm.
No, she's 29 when she had me, and she was 30 when she had Eric.
She had her 4th child when she was 29. Oh my goodness, what a woman. So it sounds like you had quite a relationship with your mom, based on
Oh,
what you've shared about being, her caregiver and being there for her. Look at that smile. Tell me about your relationship with your mom and how she has inspired you and who you have become.
oh my gosh. Well, I'll try to do that and not get emotional. My mom was the most important person in my life. I felt the most support from my mother. When I brought Barry home to meet mom, she just was was wonderful. All throughout my life, anytime I needed um, to be nurtured, I turned to my mother. She taught me, she shared with me her love of cooking, her love of volunteering, her love of wanting to take care of mankind. My mother was a member of a very strict Baptist church, so she struggled with my homosexuality, but loved me regardless of that. And she also taught me um, that that her Christianity was more about loving others than it was about judging others. So she was quick to want me to make sure that I understood that we were all put here on this earth to look after each other, that we are all family regardless, and that when you have family who's in need, you should reach out to them and you should help them as much as you can, as much as. So my mom, I can't say enough about her. She was just um, the most important thing in my life for the majority of my life. Um, when I hit a period in my life that it was just a very dark time where I feared that I was going to be alone, and um, I was living away from home at the time, and called her and talked to her, and she was like, "You need to come home." And the amazing thing was, when I came home, I met Barry, and things just blossomed in my life. Um, but yeah, it was a definite labor of love looking after my mother those last 10 years of her life. I cherish every moment I got to spend with her, and there were quite a few moments because we were together 24/7 after she moved in with us. The ironic thing was, the plan when she moved in, because my brothers and sisters were a little upset she was moving in with me. They all wanted her to live with them, and she chose me. And the plan was that we bought this house and we fixed up the basement for her to live in. But she didn't like being separated from me and Barry being in the basement. So she ended up moving up to the main floor and living with us on the main floor. But
Oh.
she was just wonderful. And again, just can't say enough. Her and Barry bonded. He did amazing things with my mother, and again, he never flinched at any of them. If my mother needed to shop for underwear, Barry was right there with her shopping for underwear.
Oh. I can really feel your mom's presence even though I don't know her, coming through your description of her and the care and love that you had the opportunity to support her in her final decade of life is so special. Ron, thank you for sharing that. I can see how that influenced you. So now that she's gone, what is your relationship with elders in the community? It sounds like she was really foundational to that for you.
Well, we try to stay as involved in with elders in the community as we can. Um, in fact, there's so much focus nowadays on children and young people, and we do need to focus on them because they are the future generations coming up. But I feel like that sometimes the elders in our community are kind of pushed to the side. I don't want to say ignored per se, but I feel like we don't do as good a job looking after our elders as we could. So I do try to. I mean, me and Barry, every winter when everybody's rushing and they're taking on these children to buy gifts for and everything, me and Barry try to get with the Council on the Aging, and try to work with that. At the Y, I'm constantly pushing them to do more for the elder community, to offer more classes, to offer more opportunities for us to be able to network because I'm one of the elderly now. Um, a chance for us to network more because, one thing I've learned, reading my articles at AARP is, that socialization is very important as we get older. If we isolate ourselves, that's when we tend to start having issues. So I really enjoy the fact that I can go to the Y and I can be around people of my own age or older, and I can be inspired by those people and hopefully inspire some of them. But we can also connect and talk about our shared experiences, because as an elderly, and especially as an elderly LGBTQ person, I feel like, um, our experiences are unique to our community, and it's fun to be around just a group of older people, but you make so much better connections if there are other people of our community there with you.
Yeah, you made a really good plug right there, actually. And I am wanting to find a banner to showcase some of the work that's going on through Generation Plus. There is actually a group called Connections that was created and also Thrive for older adults in the LGBTQ community. So people can find out more about that by going to the Blue Ridge Pride page and just looking at Generations Plus. I mean, you said it, so I had to give a plug in for it because the connection is so important. Social isolation is a risk factor for so many chronic conditions. So yeah, thank you for saying that. And to your work at the Y, I know that you have been really pivotal in AARP hosting some coffees and conversations there. You really like to show up and be prepared and hold a very welcoming space for people in the community to get together. Where did this heart for service come from in you, Ron? I know you mentioned your mom, and maybe that's it, but I'm curious if there's anywhere else where this volunteerism and this heart of service kind of was initiated.
Well, it definitely, the root of it is in my relationship with my mother, I would have to say. But also, my father, when I was, only 8 years old, 9 years old, in 1970, my father had a stroke, a hemorrhagic stroke. And to tell you the truth, back in those days, it was amazing that he lived, but he did. And we had to look after him as a family. Back then, there weren't a lot of resources to help us. So we had to help with my father's recovery and everything. And at that time, the community really rallied around us because my father had been the primary breadwinner. He was, a landscaper by trade. And when he had his stroke, then my mother had to step out of her role as being a homemaker and re-enter the workforce to help take care of us kids. And the community really stepped up, and my mother had always been one to do things for others, and she showed me the blessings of allowing people to do for you too. So really and truly, and that really is what molded me to be the person that I am, and to say that I want to go out and share myself with the world as much as I can, because I truly believe that that's what we're all put here for. I think sometimes we lose sight of that. I think sometimes, we can become selfish, and that's in the gay community or not in the gay community. And I think more often than not, we need to look um, at stepping outside of that and saying we are all here together, and let's see how we can help each other.
I'm so glad I asked you to be here today, Ron. You have so much wisdom, so much insight to share. You remind me of that reciprocity of caregiving. We're all probably going to be caregivers, and we will all probably be care recipients. And how do you do the care recipient part graciously? I can relate to the story about your mom, your mother, and her graciously allowing others to care for her, and the gift that that gave to other people. Yeah, that's really really special. The caregiving journey. Let
And
me.
it,
Yeah.
it's hard to learn that. I'm not one that accepts help easily. I have to remind myself I'm allowing this person to receive a blessing by helping me.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, my mother said something similar that you give a gift to others when you allow them to help you. And
Yeah,
it's really a good thing to remember because, like you, I like to help and it feels good. And if nobody received my help, I would be helpless, you know?
yeah.
And that's a really interesting way of thinking about it. Let's talk a little bit about, well, I'm curious about your coming out story because you mentioned that your mother, was kind of struggled with that, but ultimately completely unconditionally accepted you. When did you come out to yourself and when did you come out to the community?
Well, it's interesting because every year when Gay Pride Month rolls around and everyone's talking about their coming out stories and everything, I've often tried to pinpoint because I don't know that I was ever not out, if that makes sense. I mean, from an early age, I knew I was different, and I never dated a
Hmm.
woman or attempted to necessarily hide who I was, but
Hmm.
didn't date men either. I just, like I said, when I got of age and I went away to school, and then after that I moved away from home for a period of time and lived down in Georgia, and lived my life the way that I wanted to. But my family kind of realized all along what was going on, so they weren't that shocked when I brought Barry to meet them. But that would really be my coming out. And the funny thing was, I met Barry, and we dated for a period of time, and then we decided we wanted to live together. And I thought, well, this is going to be very obvious to them.
Hmm.
So I did call my mother up, and I told her that I wanted her to meet Barry. We all had dinner at this little seafood place in Hickory, but I told her then I just said that he was very special to me, and um, that this wasn't, just a matter of me having a roommate, without getting into a lot of detail with her. And she said that she was happy for me. She did tell me, that her prayer would always be, um, that I would uh, that I would turn out differently, and but that she wanted me to be happy. And then I think, once me and Barry moved in together, we made a point of inviting all of our families over to have. I can't remember if it was Thanksgiving or Mother's Day that first year we were together. Have my family, and his family all together, because we wanted them to recognize that we were blending two families. So, I mean, I guess that's my coming out story, is
Hmm.
talking to my mom about that, and
Hmm.
she was just she was really, and then when she saw me and Barry together, I think she realized that I was truly happy. And what mother doesn't want that for their children?
That is such a sweet progression, from the beginning of you talking with her to her process to then her coming to live with you and Barry, at the end of her life, her choosing you as her foundation. That's really, really sweet. Wow. Yeah, I've never heard a coming out story quite like that. um, Thank you. So, I mean, I know that your work is really a big part of who you are. You work hard. You're one of the most hardworking people I know, Ron. Maybe you're a Capricorn or something. I don't know when your birthday is, but you are a hardworking fellow, and plus you volunteer. Talk to me a little bit about your professional path. What you started in after, where you went to school, what your intention was, and how
Well,
it's
it's
carried
funny
along.
because my intention was to go into the medical field because of my father and the fact that he had a stroke and everything. But I knew early on that I didn't think the medical field was for me. So when I got out of school, I actually went to work for a restaurant chain and helped them open stores here in the Southeast. And eventually, when I decided I wanted to move back home to Hickory, is when my what I call my real career kicked in. and I got a job in a bank and progressed well in the bank. And they were going to make me a small business banker, but something happened to derail that. And
Huh.
I was very upset. And this lady came to me. She did mortgages for the bank. Her name was Amanda, and she was a great mentor. And she came to me and she said, "Ron, I never thought you were suited for the business banking field." She said, "We need somebody to work in mortgage. I'm the only person here in Hickory. I've talked to my boss about you. He's going to offer you the job. I want you to take it. I want you to try it." And at the time, because you're paid commission only, I was like, "Ooh, I don't know about this," because me and Barry were together at that time, and it was just, and but I took the leap of faith, and the very first person she gave me to work with was a first time home buyer. And they were just so excited. They had children, and they were just so excited about getting into a home and giving their kids a permanent home. And I was able to help them do that. And I sat there at the closing, and they signed all their papers. And even though they were signing on for a 30-year mortgage, they were just so excited, and they hugged me when it was over, and they told me how much I had made an impact on their lives, and that pretty much did it for me. And my favorite customers to work with are first time home buyers and reverse mortgage, the elderly.
Hmm.
That's a product that people frown on. So I want to make sure that the elderly are protected. I don't want anyone to take advantage of them, because I wouldn't want
Hmm.
someone to take advantage of me.
Hmm.
So those are
Hmm.
my two favorite customers. There's all kinds of customers in between, but I've done that for over 30 years now, done mortgages for over 30 years.
Oh my gosh. It sounds like many aspects of your life were informed by simple twists of fate, where
Yeah.
someone, where you went to go get the French onion dip, or you thought you were taking one path and then you took another. That is really cool. I'll never forget the person the lender who helped me get my first home, and it's still the home I live in. That person is, really sticks in your mind as someone who made a difference in
Yeah.
your life. That's really cool. Okay, well, I the 30 minutes goes fast, doesn't it? We're already
Oh my
kind of
gosh, it
nearing the
does.
end. And it's just a treasure to speak with you. All of our rainbow inspirations live on the AARP North Carolina YouTube channel so that, we can watch this later, we can share it with friends. And if you're watching this now, please do share it. It's so much fun. These stories are such a treasure. So, Ron, I have one final question to ask you, if unless there's time for more, but I'm curious about your legacy and what's important to you to leave to the community, to a message, anything that you want to share about legacy.
Well, you know, I think we all think about our legacy, and I think in for men of a certain age, gay men of a certain age, we wonder what our legacy will be, because, of course, uh, we're childless. Um, we got together at a time when it was more difficult for gay men to become parents. So um, I've wondered, because you're not just going to leave, you know, um, you're not going to pass anything on to children necessarily.
Yeah.
So I just thought my legacy, I've always thought, is I just want to touch as many lives as I can in a positive fashion. That when the time comes and I'm no longer here, I want some people to be able to remember and say, well, he was a helpful person. He did help us. Um,
Mm.
I will say, and this is something I don't share often, but late in life, I was asked by members of our community if I would help them achieve parenthood, and I made a choice that um, that I would share my DNA in our within our community. And the reason I did that, again, it goes back to wanting to help others, and it's the fact that um, these people wanted to be a parent as badly as I wanted to be at one time in my life.
Mm.
And when they asked, I couldn't say no. So I do have um, biological children out there who someday may watch this on YouTube. Who knows?
Wow, that's
And
so special.
and and I made that decision to do that. and I feel really good about it because uh, these people were able to achieve something that I wasn't able to.
Wow. I see this theme, around you helping others to achieve their goals and dreams. And it's just a part of what you're here to do. Ron, it's just amazing to be your friend, to work with you, to learn from you. I'm so grateful for this time that you've spent with me and with our viewers today. Is there anything else you'd like to say? Any other words of inspiration or truth that you'd like to share?
No, I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to
Oh,
share today. I really do appreciate that. And you've just been so sweet, and you've made it easy to share this, and that means a lot to me because I was a little nervous coming into this, and you've made it very easy.
wow. Well, thank you, Ron, for your graciousness. And you seem cool as a cucumber. So if this is you feeling a little nervous, then that is pretty awesome. So we will just say to everyone, goodbye for now, whether you're watching this live or after the fact. If you felt touched, moved, and inspired, share it. And we'll hope to see you on the next Rainbow Inspirations on the first Wednesday of the month in June. So we will say goodbye. We'll end the broadcast. Thank you, everyone.